So I considered doing this as a live stream, but it is so smoky outside. There's more bushfires around the state. I think there's some near this area. So I figured if I tried to do a live stream and had an asthma attack in the middle of it, it just wouldn't be good. So I'm pre-recording this and I'll put it out as a premiere. That way there won't be any issues with me suddenly needing to stop recording partway through. So one of the reasons I'm doing this particular video is because of the heat and the bushfires. You will have seen there was no video from me yesterday. We hit 44 degrees here at Bendigo. I was trying to record yesterday and I got as far as doing an intro before the heat just spiked up really quickly. It was already 30 degrees by about 10 o'clock in the morning. As I've already mentioned, my air conditioners are really loud, so I can't record when I've got them running. So it just wiped out any chances of me doing any recording. I was going to do just another one of my compilation of clips, but by the time the heat just really kicked in, I was just too wiped out. That would have been, I think, the third day of this heat wave that we're going through. So it is just really knocking me and the dogs around quite a lot. So there's a few things that I did want to address, and this video will be what that is for. First of all, let's talk about fundraisers and things like that. I'm aware that there is another fundraiser starting off, and I have my concerns because of the lack of transparency with these fundraisers that are being run, and it's the same people running this fundraiser. Now, I did see a post from Belinda where she was saying that in terms of fundraisers it raises awareness, and it was quite a emotive post, and I understand that. But as someone who has followed and covered multiple cases, these fundraisers really do very little. All they do is put money in someone's pocket, as far as I'm concerned, and they're targeting people who are already aware of the case. So you do a fundraiser on Facebook for people who are part of a Facebook group for Lily and Jack. How's that raising awareness? You're not selling materials that raise awareness for Lily and Jack. How does that slab of bottled water that you buy on an online auction for Lily and Jack, how does that raise awareness for Lily and Jack? It doesn't. Just put some money in someone's pocket. Now, supposedly this auction is going to raise money for materials to raise awareness for Lily and Jack. Again, sure, these wristbands are cute, but how many people are genuinely going to stop you and say, hey, what's on your wristband? Because people sell those wristbands for so many causes. So if someone's walking past you on the street and they see you wearing one of those wristbands, they're just going to be, then barely even going to notice it. Yes, the signs are a good idea if they are properly designed, but not these signs with a whole heap of garbled text on the bottom. All you need is a nice big sign with Lily's face, Jack's face, and then a nice big bit of script saying where are they, and the number for the RCMP at the bottom. People don't need the details, and if they're driving past, they're not going to be reading the details. In terms of posting flyers, go to your local school, go to your local library and ask if you can print them, if you can't afford to do so. There's been zero transparency from previous fundraisers. The people doing the fundraisers, they're not registered as a charity. They're not showing transactions. They're not showing what is being done with the money. We have no idea what happened with whatever money went into that original GoFundMe. We have no idea what the money has been used for or where it's gone for the many little trinkets that were made with Lily and Jack's name on them. And how have they raised awareness? Like I said, they've been purchased by people who already know about the case, people who are following the case. You want to raise awareness? Flyers. Put flyers everywhere. Do media interviews. Do interviews with some of the more influential YouTubers. There was a rather prominent YouTuber who has a huge following, and I actually spoke to her and I had arranged for her to do an interview with someone connected to this case. This would have got so much attention on the case. It would have had other large true crime channels deciding that they wanted to look at this case, also deciding they wanted to cover it. But even with me going, here's the email for this huge person who wants to do an interview with you, it never happened. Kendall Ray has a form on her webpage where you can go and you can fill out that form as a family member to request that she covers your case. She will do an interview with you, and she is one of the biggest YouTubers out there covering true crime. When you look at the Delphi case, that really didn't get a lot of coverage in the early days until Kelsey did an interview with Kendall Ray. And suddenly the case blew up and everyone was talking about it. Sure, the families of Libby and Abby had been putting out flyers for a few years at that point in time. They had t-shirts that they were wearing, but it just wasn't getting a huge amount of attention. It's about how you approach these things, and giving or selling little rubber bracelets is not going to increase awareness for Lily and Jack. And if you need to raise money to print flyers by selling these tacky little bracelets, then you're doing something wrong. And I'm sorry, but if people are too stingy to pay for the cost of printing their own flyers, that's on them. And you can come at me all you like, but I spent a month's worth of my income from this channel purchasing a drone for searching for Lily and Jack. I put off buying myself a portable air conditioner. For the early part of summer, I was without this portable air conditioner because I wanted to do the right thing and help out with Lily and Jack. There was the Please Bring Me Home search coming up, and I thought, well, that would be a good time to have someone with a drone going up and searching over certain properties. Now, that didn't happen. I'm not going to go into that here. I probably should have just purchased my aircon. But the point is, if people are keen to put out flyers, then they should be willing to pay that 10 cents per flyer to print the damn things. How many are they planning on putting out? I would imagine most people would only be able to put out 100 at the most. What are you going to do with them otherwise? That is not a huge outlay. I mean, these days here in Australia, you go to a bakery for a coffee and a something for lunch. It's going to cost you well over $10 to do that. So if people genuinely want to help out in terms of raising awareness with Lily and Jack, if they can't afford $10 to print 100 flyers for themselves, then maybe they're not that dedicated after all. I remember seeing with that initial fundraiser, them going on about, oh, we've just posted this number of flyers. So you've just paid money to print flyers, you've paid money to post flyers for these people who want to help, because they want to help, but they don't want to fork out $10 of their own money to print the flyers themselves. And you think doing a fundraiser is going to make a difference. You know, and if these people do want to help and genuinely can't even scrape up $10 for flyers, then go to your local library, go to your local school and ask for them to print them. And if they can't scrape up $10 to print the flyers, then they probably can't scrape up $10 worth of fuel to go and distribute those flyers. My proposition is this: for anyone who wants to help out in some way, don't go participating in some online auction where you don't know where that money's going to go. Yes, they're claiming, oh, it's for awareness, and then the leftover money will be given to search and rescue. You can do that yourself without putting money in someone's pocket. You can go and print flyers yourself and distribute them. Or if you don't live in Canada, if you don't live in the Nova Scotia area, you could donate money to search and rescue yourself. And that way you know it's going directly to them. Sorry, this has turned into a bit of a rant, but I feel quite passionate about this. It does concern me when I see these little fundraisers popping up, because there's no transparency, and it's the same people doing it, the same people who are connected to Malaya, who only showed up on the scene when there was money in the picture. We heard nothing from Malaya for months, and then all of a sudden there's a GoFundMe and Malaya pops up because she wants access to that money. And now you have the same people who are surrounding Malaya, Cheryl, Christine Inrig, this potty woman, whatever her first name is, doing this online fundraiser. And I want to know where that money's going to go. I want to see transparency for that. I don't want to see vague statements of it will go towards raising awareness. I want to see solid money amounts. This much money has come in from these donors. This money has been paid into this bill. I want to see all this. Every cent, I want to see it accounted for. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that because otherwise I'm just going to become too riled up. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is still to do with awareness, and it's a catch-22. Now, one of the things we've been really hoping for here is to have some of the bigger creators catch wind of this case and start covering it, because then that's going to raise awareness in the biggest way. Now, there are two creators who have covered this case this week. One of them is a huge presence on YouTube. She has over 700,000 subscribers, and the video that she did had 76,000 views, over 76,000 views. The other person is known on Facebook. She's been around for quite some time. She used to have her own little channel that she was doing content on, and then she got picked up by one of the big channels that has a few different people reporting on it. So she's a legend in her own lunchbox, but she is known. She is, I guess some people would consider her high profile. And it appears that she's decided to strike out on her own again and create her own channel. So in the past 10 days, she's been putting out videos. Now, she has 3 subscribers, but like I said, she's a name that is known. So potentially she will get views for her videos. So far, her videos have had this particular video has had about 150 views, and I really don't recommend it. But it is still, she is someone who other content creators may look at and go, hey, here's a case that's worth looking at. Like I said, she's going for quantity over quality. I had a look at her channel and she's basically only been doing this for 10 days and putting 5 videos out a day. You can imagine that when you're putting out 5 videos a day, you're not researching those videos very well at all. And she certainly did not research Janine's case. It appears that what she has done is she's gone online, she's pulled up a bunch of news stories, gone through them, and then made her story from that. It is so full of mistakes. She gets so many things wrong, and there are so many holes where she basically hasn't found out something in her research, and she just goes, yeah, so I don't know about that, rather than stopping and researching it to find out the answer, which is what a good researcher does. When I do videos where I discuss other cases, they may be short videos, and yes, I don't do it a lot because I'm really focused on Lily and Jack right now. But when I do a video on another case, I research that case until I run out of information to find, until I'm at the point where every article I look at, every bit of news media footage I look at is giving me the same information that I've already got. That's when I go, yeah, now I've got my head around this case, I feel like I can do it justice. But it seems like this Annie Elise woman has basically watched maybe a handful of articles. Maybe she's gone onto the RCMP site and looked at some of their media releases. I don't know, but the lack of information, the misinformation, and the continual explanations of, well, I don't know about that, is just sickening. So I don't think she's doing any favours for the case, personally, because I think other content creators are just going to look at it and go, this woman is a joke. She didn't even use photos of Lily and Jack for her thumbnail. She was too lazy to go onto Google and look for images of Lily Sullivan and Jack Sullivan. And trust me, if you do that, there's plenty that you can find. And the problem is that people have shared her video on Facebook pages, which is probably where she got the 140 views from. So it's directing people who have only just become aware of the case and are looking on the Facebook pages for more information. It's directing them to go and watch this video that's full of misinformation. That's where I have a problem. Now, in terms of Danielle Hallam, she is very much a well-known content creator. She's been doing it for a very, very long time. Now, usually someone with a channel that size has a research team. If that is the case, she needs to sack her research team. If she doesn't have a research team, then she needs to put some of the money that she's earning off her channel into employing a research team. Because while she has definitely raised awareness for Lily and Jack's case, she has put out a lot of misinformation. She has sparked some of the rumours that we've been working on putting down. So it's definitely a catch-22. On one hand, I would imagine many of the 76,000 people who viewed her video have never heard of Lily and Jack's case. But at the same time, those people who've never heard of Lily and Jack's case now have a skewed idea of what the situation is. I think where Danielle Hallam does well as a content creator is where she covers cases that are resolved. She's one of those ones like Kendall Ray, and I can't remember the name of the other one that I used to follow. But mostly her channel is about covering resolved cases. These are cases where you can get all the information from court records, etc. And these creators usually do put out only like one video a week because clearly there's a lot of time spent researching them. But her jumping into this case that is unresolved, that is still active, she's not accessed documents. She's only done it on media coverage, and she's clearly not looked at many YouTube videos. She was quite rude about YouTube content creators who are covering this. We're all into the sensationalism, we're all into the clickbait, we're not doing anything for the case. Well, if she'd actually taken her time, she would see what has actually been going on YouTube for the last 9 months. Sure, there's a lot of ridiculous AI content that YouTube needs a better policy in terms of when that sort of stuff is reported, it needs to be removed. And yes, we have some twits who are putting out some pretty dumb stories with regards to this case. But we also have a lot of very dedicated content creators who are doing a lot of really heavy research on this case, who are putting so much time into this case and putting out solid information. And the problem I have with a large content creator like this woman turning around and saying the channels that are covering this case are a bit of a joke, essentially, that means that those people who have just watched that video of hers and may have an interest in that case are not going to continue to seek information on the case because they've just been told that the other content creators, the people who are covering it daily, they're just a joke, they're not worth paying attention to. So where are these people going to go? They're either going to go to Facebook, which is ridiculous, some of the stuff that is being put out there. I only go there to look occasionally, just in case there is any new information from someone connected to the case. Sometimes I can't even bear the thought of going and looking on Facebook because of the ridiculous stuff that's there now. It's just becoming an utter joke. But these people, these subscribers to this YouTuber, they're being told, don't look at the other YouTube channels that are covering this because they're the ones that are covering this on a daily basis. They're just sensationalising it and making a joke of it. So either they go to Facebook for any information on the case and they're not going to get much information there, or they just don't follow the case and it gets forgotten again. We need a good content creator who is going to thoroughly research the case, do a really good job of telling the story of Lily and Jack, and not discourage their viewers from continuing to follow the case. Because we need people to be continuing to show an interest in Lily and Jack in order to keep the awareness going. You know, a lot of these big channels like Janie or Halleman, that they cover a case once and then they move on to another case, and that is what their viewers are accustomed to. So their viewers who are being told don't go and look at other YouTube channels that are covering this regularly are going to forget about this case really quickly because they're going to go and look at whatever Kendall Ray's latest is. They might go look at what Emma Kenny's latest is because they're all the same sort of format. Then Danielle's going to put out another video on another topic and Jack and Lily will be forgotten. And we don't have more people pushing for continuance, pushing for a resolution in this case. So just some general thoughts from me on the case. I know this is a very different format from what I usually do, but I wanted to try and get something out today, and I know that if yesterday's anything to go by, then I've probably got a limited amount of time before I've got to turn the air conditioning on. And also, like I said, it's really smoky, like my eyes are stinging. So I'm surprised that I'm not having difficulty breathing just yet. I do have a video queued up that I'm hoping to work on as soon as I can. And I have notes for a number of other videos. It's just a case of getting there. But, so my general thoughts, I think we are starting to see a clearer picture of things. I think we are starting to understand that Malaya's not entirely a victim in this. And I know I get a lot of pushback from this, but at the end of the day, Malaya is a victim in her relationship with Daniel. She's not a victim when it comes to what happened to Lily and Jack. She put them in that situation. She kept them in that situation. She could see her children were not in a safe environment. She had the opportunity to leave. And I know people say, well, you know, choice isn't really a thing when you're in those sort of relationships. I get that. But people do manage to make that choice. Usually it's when push comes to shove. There is usually something that acts as a catalyst. I would imagine that for many people, seeing a black eye on your little boy that's been caused by your partner would be enough of a catalyst for you to get out of there. And yet she happily sent him off to school with his black eyes and bruises and things, and never bothered to get those children out of there until it was too late. So I do not see Malaya as a victim in what happened to Lily and Jack. I do not buy the stories of them being hidden away somewhere. I'm sorry, but I truly believe Lily and Jack are deceased. Everything we've heard points towards them being deceased. This is a criminal investigation. They are keeping it as a missing persons investigation because that just makes it so much easier for their investigation in terms of accessing records, accessing any sort of digital things that they need. And I've said that so many times over and over and over, because there isn't so much of a burden of proof when you're putting in a records access request as opposed to putting in a request for a warrant. I do believe that whatever happened to Lily and Jack occurred on the Thursday evening. There is no consistency in anyone's stories from the time that they returned home on the Thursday afternoon, and I do believe that they did make it back to the property on Thursday. I know some people have said, well, what if they never made it back? I believe they made it back to the property. I believe that they did have that little FaceTime call with Cindy, and then after that, something happened. Because after that, all their stories are just jumbled. None of their stories match. None of their timelines match. So something happened after that FaceTime call with Cindy. I believe that it was something sudden, based on leakage from all of them. And I do strongly suspect that whatever occurred happened in the driveway. I believe that at the very least, Janie, Daniel and Malaya all know what happened to those children and are all covering up for what happened to those children. But I have questions about other people and their knowledge or their involvement. We've heard speculation that maybe Logan, Justin, and someone else was there on the Thursday evening. It seems like Logan is in this really thick. She has come out sharing stories in defence of Daniel. She attacked Cheryl on that Foggy channel. She seems to be a key player in all this. And she is the connection between Durwood and Daniel, because Durwood, by his own admission, was living with Logan's grandmother. And I wonder if that is how Durwood became involved. Was he called in after something happened with Lily and Jack to help with the cover-up? Did he have some involvement in the aftermath of this case? Or is he just coming out and defending Daniel because he's a really nice person? What's in it for him that makes him come out and need to threaten people, that makes him come out and continue to push this narrative even when he has admitted to Sonny that Daniel is responsible? And where does Jordan fit into all this? Is Jordan just upset because his father is a complete moron who's put himself smack bang in the centre of something that could see him winding up in jail? Or was Jordan maybe there on the Thursday evening when something happened? Why is it so important for Jordan to convince people that no, they weren't at his place the day before the children were reported missing? Why should that matter if it was the day before they went missing? Unless there's something to hide here. In terms of Brad Wong and Justin Smith, I have no doubt that they are being truthful. I have no doubt that they are saying exactly what they heard, and in Brad's case, saw in terms of the headlights. It doesn't matter that there's no video surveillance of it. They're out in the back of Whoop Whoop. The campground where Justin was staying, we've heard now that the cameras weren't working at that point in time. And they would have only shown had the vehicle headed up towards Legg Road, which it may well have done. The trail camera that was in the area that showed the road was down on Lansdowne Station Road, the road that Brad lives on. Well, it seems like Daniel was going up Lansdowne Road. So as far as we know, there's no trail cameras between there and whatever his destination was. What houses are there between 1407 Gairloch Road and Lansdowne Road? One. And that is that rickety old Geddes house. That's not going to have a trail cam. Now, it's also possible that in terms of, and I said this right from the get-go, you have Brad and Justin only hearing the vehicle, hearing the direction of the vehicle, given the time of night, given their locations. For all we know, that vehicle could have been going on the trails. But even if it was going straight along Gairloch Road and up Lansdowne Road, how many houses are there from the bottom of Lansdowne Road up until Ron's house or Earl's house? Not very many. If, as Justin suggests, the vehicle was turning at the train lines, well, there would have been no cameras at all between there and 1407. And ironically, the thing that convinces me the most that there is something very significant in these statements from Brad Wong and Justin Smith is the way that Daniel and Janie have bent over backwards trying to discredit them. We had the article come out even before anyone knew that it was Brad Wong that they were talking about. Clearly, Janie and that figured it out. And it wouldn't have been hard to figure it out given that in the article they mentioned seeing headlights. Only one person in the area would have been able to see the headlights going up and down that driveway. So they would have known, even before the documents came out, that it was Brad Wong. And we heard all those comments in Janie's Facebook little things where she was trying to discredit Brad Wong, trying to come out before any more information came out and discredit him. And then we find out their names, and all of a sudden we have Daniel going flat out on this Turkey channel and the turkey guy supporting him, trying to discredit Brad and Justin. So to me, the fact that there is this desperate need to discredit them says that they are significant. Their statements are significant, and we need to not forget what they have said. We need to really consider what the heck this vehicle was doing, going back and forth in those hours between midnight and 5 a.m. And which vehicle is it? I do believe that Brad would have been extremely familiar with the sounds of the different vehicles in the area. When you live in a quiet area like that, you do know the sounds of all the different vehicles, the vehicles that you hear regularly. Is it possible, though, that there was another vehicle that sounded like that one? Because we know that not long after all this happened, Dingbat was selling a vehicle that pretty much matches the description of what Brad Wong is talking about. Someone had mentioned something somewhere, and I haven't found the origins of this, that one of Daniel's aunts had a little vehicle that matches the description. And I'm wondering if this is the same vehicle that Durwood was selling. Because what I had heard was that this vehicle had been loaned to Daniel for some reason. I don't know if there's any truth in that, but it certainly is interesting. And then we have Durwood selling a similar vehicle not long afterwards, and we know he has the connections with that family because he was living with and dating Logan's grandmother. And the situation with Janie's RV and the dog really bothers me. Why wouldn't she allow the RCMP into her RV when they wanted to search it? And why is it that we are now learning that there seems to be two different dogs? Where is that other dog that everyone has seen, that everyone has talked about? And why is that being kept a secret? Is it Justin's dog? Is there any truth in that information that came from the guy that made the phone call and said that he thought Janie wasn't actually living there at the moment? He thought Justin was staying there. Was that Justin's dog shut up in that RV? I know there was, at one point it was said, well, Justin's dog is old. Well, I've looked at photos of Justin's dog from about 5 years earlier, and she would have only been 1 or 2 at that point in time. So in terms of old, no. She would have well and truly been under 10 years old. So she wouldn't have been like this old feeble dog that was blind and couldn't walk properly. She would still be capable of injuring a child. Is that the reason why when Belinda went there on the Monday, Justin was in the driveway crying? Because you can't tell me he would have been that close to Lily and Jack. And why? Why would this grown man be crying because they are simply missing when they're not his own children? I just don't buy it, especially not when you see the rest of that family. And I really hope that the RCMP have paid attention to all these rumours and gone and questioned Justin to find out what he knows or if he's involved in any way. Anyway, I have so many more questions, so many things I want to discuss, but I am going to do that in separate structured videos rather than just keep rambling, because I know that when I do these videos like this where I'm rambling, that there's obviously a lot of thinking pauses and stuff. So it's probably one of those videos where you have to put it onto like 1.25 speed just to be able to listen to it and not fall asleep from all the pauses while I'm thinking. Anyway, I'm going to finish this video here. Hopefully this will give me a little bit of time before I need to turn the aircon on to work on one of my other videos, one of my more structured videos. So please bear with me for the next 4 or 5 days, because we do have temperatures around 40 degrees for another 3 or 4 days. So it is going to make it really, really hard for me to get quality content out there. Anyway, first of all, probably apologies for anyone that I may have offended in this video. I know when I speak more freely, sometimes things just come out that maybe shouldn't have been said, but they're out there now. But I'm not going to go through and edit things and take things out just because it may offend someone, because this has been one of those videos where I've just basically said what I thought. It's usually something I reserve just for my members only videos, but I figured there's a few things that I did want to touch on, so I thought I would cover them for everyone today. Anyway, so that brings it all to an end. So thanks for listening. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. This is a little different from my regular content, but check out some of my other videos if you've not seen them, and hopefully you will like what you see and you will choose to subscribe to my channel. Also, please hit the like button. Let's get this video out there into the algorithm so people see it. And please do feel free to leave a comment. So thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one.